If you were comparing memories of difficult experiences in a named poem such as Poppies for the AQA Poetry Anthology Power and Conflict question, you may consider comparing it with The Emigree, and a sophisticated argument is that both poets present memory as a psychologically preservative force that resists separation and loss. However, Weir presents memory as intimate maternal grief, shaped by emotional absence, whereas Rumans presents memory as an act of resistance against political displacement and cultural erasure. Both poems are retrospective lyric poems, meaning they foreground private consciousness, emotional interiority and personal reflection. Weir writes within the context of modern conflict and remembrance culture, exploring the emotional consequences of war upon families rather than simply the soldiers themselves. Meanwhile, Rumans explores exile and authoritarian oppression, deliberately leaving the homeland unnamed, so that it universalises this experience of displacement. Importantly, both poems suggest memory is not passive recollection, it's an active psychological process that shapes identity and emotional survival. At first, both poets present memory as emotionally vivid and psychologically sustaining. In Poppies, Weir describes spasms of paper red. The violent noun spasm suggests involuntary emotional pain, while the symbolic red imagery evokes both poppies and bloodshed, allowing domestic memory to become almost contaminated by the language of conflict. Similarly, in The Emigree, the speaker insists, "My memory of it is sunlight clear." The compound adjective there and recurring motif of sunlight symbolise purity, emotional preservation and nostalgic idealisation. In both poems, memory then allows emotional attachment to survive physical separation, although Weir's imagery is painful and destabilising, whereas Rumans is luminous and restorative. However, both poets gradually suggest memory psychologically constructed rather than entirely reliable. In Poppies, the mother claims, "I was brave." The simple declarative sentence appears almost self-persuasive, implying suppressed vulnerability beneath performed resilience. Likewise, Rumans admits there's no way back at all. The absolute phrasing acknowledges irreversible exile and suggests the remembered city may now exist more vividly within memory than external reality. Both poets therefore imply that memory becomes emotionally shaped by grief, longing, and displacement. Ultimately, both poems reach the philosophical realisation that memory becomes internalised into identity. In Poppies, the mother remains, hoping to hear your playground voice catching on the wind. The participle verb, hoping, creates emotional irresolution, suggesting memory preserves attachment precisely because reunion is impossible. Similarly, Rumans writes, "My city hides behind me." The personification suggests that homeland has become psychologically embedded within the speaker's consciousness and sense of self. Both poets therefore suggest that difficult experiences do not simply disappear into some distant past. Instead, memory becomes permanent, shaping their identity, sustaining their emotional connection, and resisting the forces of absence, exile, and loss.